Test 1, 2. Welcome back to Hopper's Hot Rods for part 3 of ripping the engine out and replacing it in the van you see before you. I really have nothing prepared. Sometimes the right order in which to do things is the order in which you have the energy in which to do them. I'm going to record a different intro. In case I don't record a different intro later on, cue the music. Here is our engine priming kit. We've got the Project Source multi-purpose sprayer from Lowe's. I think it was 16 bucks. I grabbed all the barbed fittings I could find in my toolbox. I also had a box of these, what I call gauging adapters. They go from metric to pipe thread. And I found one that fit both the plug, which is here. Now this plug on the front of the engine gives access to the oil pump and this oil galley that goes through the filter and throughout the engine. So that's what we're going to put pressure in. We're going to put oil in the bug sprayer, pump it into this hole until it comes out of these holes here, which will mean that the crank, the cam journals, the lifter bores, all the lifters and the push rods have oil in them for initial startup. This is a step that I skipped on the previous engine. It's amazing that thing ran. But for 16 bucks, it's dumb to skip this step because it primes the whole oil system and you'll have oil pressure right at startup for the very first time, which is a good thing, supposedly. I do need to block off this. I'm going to use the oil pressure gauge that I had in there before. Got to remember to tighten that up. Otherwise, oil will spill out of that. Other than that, I think we're good. Normally, there would be oil lines connected here for an oil cooler. There's a port here for a sensor or gauge. And this is a bypass that lets oil circulate past it. Oh, we need to put a filter on too. All right, let's get started. Well, before we get carried away, let's make sure that the barbed fitting that we're going to use, which seems to fit okay in this adapter, we're going to wrap it with a little Teflon tape. Let's make sure that it's going to work with the hose on the bug sprayer here. Carefully disassemble the handle here. Looks like it just fits over that there, huh? We'll keep that in case we want to spray something. And we'll see if this is going to, oh yeah, I think that's going to work good. We'll heat it up a little bit, slip that on there, and maybe even put a hose clamp. Fresh end there. The barbed hose fitting, that's the key. It was named after Barbara Bach. Legend has it. You'll have to ask Ringo why that is. And you just always want to make sure you wrap it in the direction of that it's, you know, going on. Here's our oil port, and these adapters have a little crush washer that helps them seal up, but I've got pipe dope all over this also. I'm trying to do this left-handed for your benefit. I hope you appreciate it. Oh. And we'll run that down real quick. Snug. And then we'll get our barbed fitting on here. You don't have to over tighten brass, but you want it snug. Snug. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and slip a hose clamp on here. Hopefully won't need it, but we're going to have one on there just in case. We'll give this thing a little bit of heat. Make it a little more malleable. Slip that on like that. Then we'll I'll go ahead and tighten this little clamp up here as soon as I figure out what size that is. We've got our fitting fitted to the oil port here. So now let's just get the thing here. Put in some break-in oil. It's engine break-in oil. I've never used engine break-in oil. I always just use the Walmart stuff, but whatever. It's worth a try. We're gonna, in our expanding endeavor for excellence and alliteration deal here, I'm going to put 3 quarts in this sprayer, because I can always pour it back into the engine. It really is purple. Man, I got oil on my Special Mechanics outfit. Dang it. So, with no valving of any kind, no on-off valve or whatever, in theory, just as I put pressure in this, it should be pumping oil into the engine. We will find out pretty quickly if this is going to work. I'm going to set the camera up to, hold on, I'll show you. Okay. I'm going to start pumping on this thing, and we'll just see if we can hear the thing. Oh, well, we're about to hear something because there's no oil filter on it. Oh, that was close. I started pumping it, but I have yet to put the oil filter on here, so let me do that really quickly. Pouring a little bit of oil in the filter. That was almost bad. I don't hear anything. All right, I pumped it up a little bit. I'm going to let it sit for a minute, see if it depressurizes, make sure that something is going somewhere. Really, if you think about the amount of oil it would probably take to fill all the lifters, all the oil galleys and stuff, it's probably 2 quarts of oil to circulate through the engine. So I'll just keep a pumping. The purple is now percolating out of some of the rocker arms. I'm going to pump it up some more. Maybe we'll see A little bit more. There's some right there. I don't know if the camera is picking that up. I'll keep putting pressure in until this oil is just about at the bottom. And what's left I'll pour in, you know. Let's go check the other side. Oh yeah, oil here, here. Make sure there's plenty of pressure, and then I'll rotate the engine just once. Actually, there's only one rocker arm that doesn't have oil squirting out of it, but just for fun, I'm gonna rotate the engine. All right, keep in mind, this is bug sprayer hand pump pressure, so we're probably talking about pounds per square inch that is in the teens, like probably 15 PSI to get it to come out. Well, the engine's in place. It's leaning back a little bit more than I wanted it to be, but even with the special patented shelf support system, it's flexing pretty far, so I'm just going to leave it the way it is. And once I get the middle bolt started, I should be able to draw everything, you know, up where it's supposed to be, unless the table collapses, because this engine weighs about 60 pounds more than the previous one. But over here I've got the fluid to make the lift work, because so much of it leaks out that it won't work until I add more fluid into the reservoir. And I know you're thinking, but what if the lift collapses while you're under there? I'm way ahead of you. If I put that there, like that, that's as far down as it can go, and you know, I'll be fine. Well, it took a bit of doing, but the engine is bolted in. The cross member is up nice and tight where it's supposed to be. This brake line got mangled and pulled down straight. It should be up here somewhere. So I'm going to try to rebend that without damaging it. Then we can reconnect this brake line that goes to the rear. These two brake lines that, well, one goes to the right front and one goes to the rear. And then we can torque the bolts on the flex plate in place, and then we can put the transmission back and cross member. Then everything will be suspended where it's supposed to be. I wedged a 2x4 in here to keep the engine from like laying back kind of far. floppy while I was trying to get this subframe in place. So starting to reconnect things, we'll have this baby ready to fire up. Well, I don't know when, soon. Well, here we am under the van, and the next step is going to be putting the flex plate on the back of the crank, which is this thing here. It's not a complicated procedure, but it is a procedure, so I thought I would share it. I bagged the bolts. I know it's a little over organized perhaps, but oh yeah, by the way, there's a pin here. Just line it up with this hole. I also labeled this as the transmission side of the flex plate because, you know, even it probably won't even go on the wrong way, but if it did, I'd be the one to do it. So these bolts get Loctite on them because you want them locked on there nice and tight. For the 6-liter LS going in an old van, we're supposed to torque them down to 15 foot-pounds, then 37 foot-pounds, then 75 foot-pounds. So we'll just do those in that order. There's 15, 15. That one was all the way in, 15, 15. When in doubt, just make one of those Jewish Star of David's things, you know, so you make sure you get them all. I marked them the last time I torqued them, and I'll mark them this time too, but only on the final torque. I get them all. So now we go to 37. There's 37. Now I'll stick something through here so when I'm really cranking down on this one, the engine won't spin. There's no spark plugs in the engine, so it will spin rather easily. So I'm just gonna run something through here so it'll bind up and not, you know, not spin. It's probably not the correct way to do it. I don't know. Bunch of extra anti-loosen. These are the 3 bolts that the torque converter bolts to, and there's one extra bolt, so I just ran a 1/4-inch drive socket extension through this and let it kind of bind up on the engine block over here. So when I'm cranking this out, if it mangles the hole just the tiniest bit, it'll be fine. It won't hurt anything that we're going to be connecting the torque converter to. At least that's my hope. Oh, and this is set for the 75. It's not a huge amount of torque, but if this is held in place, it makes things easier. Okay. That's it. That double checks that they are all torqued. Now we can slide this out, and we are ready to bolt the transmission to the engine. At least I think we are. As far as I know, we are. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. Well, that's going to do it for another exciting episode. I'm in Tennessee. Little break. We'll get back on the van first thing next time I'm in the same area where the van is. Thanks for watching.